Hi Capricorn, welcome to your June 2017 mid-month update. It's Raina here. So as you can see, I've laid out the cards. I decided to start over again because I had to clear my throat, but also because I did feel I was rambling a little bit in my introduction, because I did want to say something very quickly about a couple of issues. First of all, I would like you to look at this reading in an organic way. I don't want you to pick out a card and focus on that to the exclusion of other cards. And I also don't want you to take this too seriously. And maybe that is going to seem a bit contradictory for me to say. But these readings, and even personal readings for that matter, are intended to help you look at your life in a more philosophical way, possibly bring up synchronicity. So in other words, I pick cards that relate to your life and you go, wow, that's just like what's happening to me. And that causes you to believe that there is divine order in this world. Okay, that's what it's all about. And so all the other things are superfluous. They're kind of extra. It doesn't really matter if this card represents this person or that person. If I said it's the father of your child and you don't have one, you know, these, I can't go through every permutation. And besides that, it's not the point. The point is for you to kind of figure out what it means in your life. And it stimulates you to think philosophically if you're not inclined to do so. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this is an unusual situation. I've done this a few times with this particular set of readings because I've started over, and maybe this is happening right on time too, because occasionally I do get people who hint that I might want to shuffle the cards in front of the camera. Well, the way my camera is set up, it's very difficult to do that, but on top of that, I don't know how to shuffle cards. I mean, the way that when you go like this, and you go, I'm not even going to try, but when you go like that, I can't do that. I've been trying ever since I was a kid. I've accepted it. I've accepted that if I tried that, they would fly across the room, and I'm good with that. So I shuffle it in my own awkward way, and then I put them out in little piles. You can see over here, I've got the little piles going. And that's how I do it. And it works for me. I realize that some people, that's part of what I was saying at the beginning, getting hung up on, oh, is she doing this? Is she doing that? Or what does this card mean? What does that card mean? That is not the point. That is superficial. The important thing is, do you feel like the message that I give is appropriate for your particular life? And can you learn something about your situation from a different standpoint? That's all. No more, no less. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit because it's getting in my field of vision, and put them like that. And I'm going to begin the reading over again. So this is a general focus, so it can include any topic. The card that I got for the overall theme of these last 2 weeks of the month is the Hierophant card. And this is a card that connects to the sign of Taurus, which is a fellow earth sign to Capricorn. And it could be somebody who you're thinking about in your life. This is also, as you can see, a religious figure. So this could be a member of the clergy. If you're going, let's say, to marital counseling and you're employing a priest or somebody like that, or a minister. But it can also represent just conforming to tradition, which most Capricorns do in their sleep, that you are a traditional sign. And yet, if this is the focal point, then it might be some kind of a controversy or something that's going through your mind that is making you a little bit having conflict about this. So I don't know how this would play out for you, but in any case, this could also be like if you work in a corporate environment and you feel like you're a cog in the wheel. You have to wear certain clothes. You have to have a certain corporate speak, like a language all your own. You know, it's funny. I was in the park and I saw these people, and I think they were part of some kind of a corporate situation, and they were like in this circle, and it really felt like a cult. At first I thought they were in some religious cult because they were all wearing kind of formal clothing, and then I figured that they were part of this corporate environment, and they probably do these kinds of events to keep, you know, to brainwash people into being, I was going to say subservient to them, but more of like this person that is willing to conform to whatever it is that the authorities tell them to do. And maybe it sounds like I'm a little bit biased against that type of environment, but you know, you'd have to be there to see how strange it was. And I mean, they were dancing, they were doing strange things. So I feel like you may be, if you're in that environment, you may feel like you don't have your sense of self, but because it may have a good pay, or it may have some kind of benefits to you. Maybe even just the idea of being employed is too hard to resist. Okay, so it could be something like that as well, or maybe you're thinking of getting married. In the past, we have the Two of Wands. So this, whenever you see a 2, there could be some choice that is happening. In this case, this can have to do with relocation, picking up and traveling. Somebody pointed out to me that there's somebody holding on to that wand that doesn't belong to this person. And I think I even got it for this series of readings, and I said I was going to look it up and I forgot. So I'm going to have to do that and figure out what in the heck that means. Why is somebody else holding on to that? I have to assume that it's saying that there's more than you to consider in this decision. So whether it's a child, you know, uprooting some child, or if it's you don't want to be separated from a romantic partner or a family member, that could be what is keeping you in a situation. Maybe you have a job opportunity and you're still not sure if you want to do it. But for some people, this is definitely a romantic situation, because then we have the Knight of Cups, and this is the quintessential Harlequin romance novel cover model, because this is that type of person that seems like, you know, from a storybook. It doesn't seem almost like real people are like this, who offers their partner the moon and stars. Also, this can be an artistic soul, and so you may be choosing between two types of people. That's always a possible. That's always possible too, and it could be that marriage is on your mind. Maybe one person is a fire sign, which to me would suggest that there's more of a sexual chemistry, and the other person is a romantic interest. Who do you choose? Okay, as an earth sign, you are very much tempted by the pleasures of the flesh, even though you're a Capricorn and you have, I was going to say you have a pocket protector, but that's, I was thinking of nerds and stuff. I'm not thinking of, I'm not accusing Capricorn men of being nerds. I'm saying you may be very buttoned up, and that's just a metaphor for being very traditional, but you still are an earth sign, and earth signs tend to be very earthy in their sexuality. So somebody comes along and a fire sign person lights your fire, that is going to give you a bit of something to think about if you have to decide between that type of relationship and the relationship that the Hierophant represents, which is more of a traditional relationship. You may even have that dichotomy in your mind where you're thinking, this person is for sex and this person is for love. You know, traditionally you saw men who looked at women and they said, I'm going to take this woman home to mother, and this will be the person that is on the side. And that's a person who is not well integrated, where they can see a woman as more than, you know, these gross stereotypes, like this is the pure woman and this is the, you know, the bad girl. So for a woman, it can be the same. For a Capricorn woman, it can be the same thing. You may have some guy that, and I think Capricorn women tend to do this, where they like the bad boys because they are so responsible that they don't mind being the adult in the room, but the relationship kind of can get very, you know, very quickly it can get very exasperating for a Capricorn woman, because she ends up becoming too much in that Saturn role of the parent, kind of being the mature one in the relationship. And I typically say that Aries, of all the fire signs, is the one that Capricorns tend to grapple with. So if the Knight of Cups person is a water sign, a Pisces, Scorpio, or Cancer individual, this person ultimately will probably be more compatible with you. Maybe not more exciting, but more predictable. And you don't mind predictability, actually. But sometimes these exciting relationships can kind of catch your attention, you know. So it's just kind of acknowledging that. It might be like you're thinking, should I go this way or that way? For some people, this may be an issue of wanting to pursue creative projects. And maybe you are like torn because you really have these career opportunities. And yet, if you are an artist at heart, chances are it's going to be very hard to kind of feign interest for something that just ultimately doesn't do it for you. The higher message, which I think is a good one, is the Two of Pentacles. And what I think this could be is don't quit your day job. Do something on the side. If you're an artistic person, you can do both. You might have to do a juggling act as this person, but particularly the Pamela Coleman depiction on the Rider-Waite deck is more of a juggler, I believe. But it's like you may have to have 2 gigs, but 2 gigs where one of them really is what you want is better than choosing the sure thing and the money maker and totally closing the door on things that really speak to you. You don't want to ever do that. That's the main point. For relationships, it may just be saying you have a decision on your hands and you may be reluctant to make it. But with Pentacles as the dualism involved, you have to think of things in a grounded way. And who is going to be the person who is the most likely to be there for the long haul. It could be that the other person is an earth sign, a Taurus too, because of the Hierophant. What crosses you is the Four of Wands, picking it off the ground, which is the card of the happy home. You can't really see. This isn't... I love the Morgan Greer deck, but the Rider-Waite deck has more of the... sometimes has much more self-explanatory images, and they show like 2 people dancing in front of a house, and that's like the happy home life. This could be, you know, closing on a home. Maybe you are having a hard time closing on a home for whatever reason. And You know, it's interesting because doing my math here, your fourth house, Capricorn, would be Aries. And Uranus is in Aries. So your home life, your domestic life until 2019, 2018 it's going to go into your fifth house, and then it's going to dip back into your fourth house. Okay, it's going to go into Taurus, which is actually a friendly angle to you, and then go back into your fourth house. Okay, so when this happens, you know, as this transit has been happening, you may have found that there have been a lot of twists and turns when it comes to a property, when it comes to your family of origin. Maybe there have been some surprises with, like, if you've been trying to buy property and then something at the 11th hour makes it so that you can't do it. Understand that this is still going on, and this may be totally, you know, separate from this other issue, but it may be that you're trying to close on a house, and once again, it doesn't work out. By the way, if any of you have experienced this, please let me know below, because I like these kind of confirmations. Obviously, this is a general reading, and even when I talk about astrological transits, they may not hit everybody. If you're watching this as a sun in Capricorn, this would be your solar chart. So the natal chart sometimes is the more predictable thing for you know, your day-to-day experiences. But that might be just saying that your home life is going to be unsettled for a couple more years, or don't like put all your faith into one area of your life. The Hierophant likes that sense of continuity, or well, which is what tradition is. You know, that whatever was true yesterday is true today. That things don't fundamentally change in our lives. And that's true and not true. I mean, if you think about 200 years ago, or even 100 years ago, how radically different our lives were in some ways. Now, they could be kind of superficial ways, but I think that some of them are quite profound differences. So we have to be open to change, because it's the only guarantee in life. And yet, we always want that home base, because that provides us with a sense of stability. So it's kind of like this paradox, right? And so it may be just saying, don't be too addicted to this idea that you have to have this particular family situation. But it can also be about marriage, and it can be that you're not feeling like it's happening, it's flowing, and it's because you might have kind of this decision to make for some reason. For career matters, you might be trying to buy a house, and because you're of job fluctuations and maybe not really feeling like you're into a certain job, you might be saying, but I really want to buy this house, I should stay at this job. And yet it's sucking the life out of you, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things that you have to realize, is that there can be a price you have to pay for something that you want. And the question to ask yourself is, am I really willing to pay that price? The advice, or what's coming in, is the Three of Wands, which is a card of expansion. The number 3 is creative, it's abundant. This is a card of the entrepreneur. So you may decide to just go it alone. And this is also a card of expanding territory, perhaps traveling long distances. So if that's something that appeals to you, you may decide to travel. This card can actually indicate travel over a body of water. So that's always a possibility. And it is about broadening your horizons and not just playing it safe and staying where you are, but really wanting to see the world and touch other cultures, have these other experiences to compare to your own. so that you're not just in one place. For some reason, you may need to do this. Maybe because Pluto is in Capricorn. Do you feel like this need for an extreme makeover? I don't know. In love affairs, the number 3 can speak to 3 parties involved. Again, with the fire energy, with the wands. So it could be that it's hard to decide because you have that sexual chemistry. The outcome is the King of Swords. This is a card of being very clear and logical about the decisions that you make. For some people, if you are in a marriage, you might say, okay, it's time to go to court. It's time to get a divorce. Maybe you've been trying to make things work. Maybe that's what, as I said at the beginning, perhaps there's been some kind of counseling. And finally, you've made a decision that kind of overrides any emotions that you have about oh, I've been married for all these years. I've invested all this time. How can I do this? You know, things like that. People have this tendency to look at life from one perspective because they allow their emotions to get the best of them, and this is kind of you pushing that aside and saying, I want what's best for me. And anything that triggers me emotionally it could be sentimentality, it could be unnecessary guilt about the situation, but I'm not going to allow these things to deter me. So as you can see, I'm talking about so much these very grandiose themes that may not be appropriate for just a 2-week period. Maybe this is something that has been spanning months or even a year of your life. If you'd like further clarity I won't even say that. I'll just say more engagement on some issues of your life, and you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below or go to MarinaMoonAstrology.com. And I'd love to work with you. Otherwise, have a great month, Capricorn. Or rest of the month, I should say. Bye.